Hello, everyone. I'm Paul Melrose, Assisting Pastor for Pastoral Care here at Madison's First United Methodist Church. I'm recording this devotion for Tuesday. On Saturday, just a few hours ago, we heard an important announcement. The nation had selected the president-elect. That turned into all kinds of commentary. And as I listened to various people reflect on the move in our government and the beginning of the change of transition in leadership, I was moved by the words of Christian layman, historian, author John Meacham. I've referred to him several times. He has written the book, The Soul of America. He recently did a reflection on national TV that included his thoughts there. He was asked as a person of faith at this time, what does the country need? And both as a historian and as a man of faith, he pondered that for a minute, and then he said, well, as we read through scriptures that are important for both Jews and Christians and have similar thoughts elsewhere, he reflected on those passages from Ecclesiastes, one which was a popular rock song back in the 60s and 70s. To everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven. And he went through several of the lines, and then he said, I'm thinking of this as a time to heal. How true that can be. Healing is needed in so many ways. Many of us here at church have been doing devotions on healing, thinking specifically of the healing needed around the physical illness of the pandemic as it afflicts people and so many different other medical conditions that follow from it. But Meacham, speaking as a man of great faith, in my estimation, spoke of the spiritual need for healing for our nation. As he was talking, I was reading through Facebook and I found a couple references to Lincoln's second inaugural address as well, with references to the importance of it, both speaking of a time of intense partisanship, where divisiveness and destruction and division seemed to rule over decency, seemed to rule over an ability to talk to someone. The depths of despair that we've noticed, not only in the fight for who should be the new elected leader, but also in the deep, deep divisions of our history being thrown up at us as we find that people of color and marginalized people and essential workers have so little, and we haven't noticed that. And these are important needs at the time. All this laid out before us in a national panoply of events. The wisdom was, we need to heal. Meacham in his TV show had 3 ways of trying to do that, based on some thoughts he had after writing a book on Representative John Lewis. He said, we need to cross the aisle. We need to listen. We need to learn what it's been like for the other. We're hearing very loudly and clearly and forcibly what it's been like for years, and even enunciated more clearly in the present, what it is like to be with a person without privilege, a person without power, a person fighting for health care, a person looking for if they have enough jobs coming in and they use food pantries, will they be able to pay their bills and keep meals on the table? But he was also talking about those of us even who are white. Do we know what it's like to live in so many places around the country with predominantly white kinds of populations? All of which rolled into, is this a time that we can move on together? Are we, as the president-elect, as we found out this morning, and others have talked about, a United States, or are we several different states and several different mindsets? One African-American commentator said If it's unity you're looking for, I don't want that. Not the way it's been. We've tried that and it's failed, because that kind of unity just brushes under the rug the needs of people of color, the sins of slavery, the despair and the poverty and the lack of rights and respect that so many people have lived with for so many years. He was referring to African Americans, but that could be applied to people, other people of color, American Indians, Latina population. I could go on. So here we are, a time for healing. This is where I think we are, brothers and sisters. Our nation needs healing, but it's a long, slow process. We can begin it again. That's where the word of hope maybe comes to us today. A word of hope to speak to us deeply in our souls, a word of hope to speak to our nation. And even as several people around the world, I was in touch with friends from Russia and Norway and Canada this morning, all saying, maybe we can move ahead in new and more united ways. We use secular terms to describe our relationship in the body politic: collaborate, cooperate, be united together. But those point to values that come to us, beliefs we have as Christians. God created us as one. God created the earth for all. God created us as all peoples of equal love and care, and how we love our neighbors even as we love ourselves. And Jesus was quite clear. Who is our neighbor? It's not just the ones like us who it's easy to relate to. It's the ones who are in deep need, who we maybe have been blinded from seeing, have heard about and never reached out to meet. It is time for our paths to cross. I hope this isn't too rambling, a kind of a healing, talk on healing right now, or thoughts about it. But it is deep in my heart and mind on this day when we hopefully enter another era in this country's history. Meacham pointed out several times in our history as a nation where we have been divided, hence the references by many people to Lincoln's second inaugural address. With malice toward none, he said, even as blacks and whites, northerners and southerners lie dead and in many cases seething with hostility towards the other, even though the war has been won. The hearts and souls of many then were not united, even as they are not now. The idea is not to be united into one point of view, but not to have division or disagreement or disparagement, but be able to simply disagree. Can we have conversation rather than caustic comments that seek to put down the other? So my prayer that I ask you to share in your own way this day is a prayer that as we move ahead, we're moving ahead in a spirit and attitude of healing. God calls us all to be part of the beloved community. We as Christians pray each and every day, certainly every Sunday, that God's kingdom will come and be done here on earth as it is in heaven. Let us close with the Lord's Prayer. I invite you to say it with me. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.